Hello, all, and welcome to the first episode of Moonlit Chats, a new series I've been wanting to start for a while now. And if you notice anything about my audio, maybe it's improved quality, it's because I got a new microphone. Previously, I would go under my blanket and then record the audio for my videos on my phone. But hopefully, that's going to stop because I have a new mic. So, shout out to my new mic. So my idea for these moonlit chats is I just wanted to bring like a more casual vibe to the channel where I could just talk about some things and not necessarily script them into a full video. I consume a lot of media and I have like a lot of thoughts on them. And I just thought that this would be the best way to get out some ideas before I maybe fleshed them out into like a full video. Initially, I wanted it to be a monthly recap sort of video, but I decided that would be too limiting for the ideas that I wanted to have. That's why I decided this isn't going to be like a monthly recap. So I just wanted to talk about like two books that really caught my attention recently that I read. And something about me is that I don't get my book recommendations from booktok ever since I tried out some of the books recommended there and I wasn't really impressed by the recommendations I got from booktok. Not that there's anything wrong with them, but they just weren't my cup of tea. So I usually get my book recommendations from Pinterest and they have been bangers so far. One of the books that really caught my attention is Piranesi, a novel by Susanna Clark. And this is kind of like a magical realism story with bits of horror in it. And Piranesi is just such a fascinating book to me because I went in completely blind. I didn't even fully understand the summary of what I was reading. Oh, I just saw that it was a story about someone trapped in this place that had like infinite halls and corridors, and I wanted to see how the book would play out. And it was one of the most fascinating things I've ever read. The setting is so unique, and the way the plot unravels is just very beautiful. And it had moments where it was incredibly sad, but overall, the tone of the book was very, very optimistic. And I enjoyed it a lot. Highly recommend it to anyone who's trying out magical realism. I had never read a magical realism book before, and this was such a nice venture into that genre. And the second book I want to talk about in this chat is Earthlings by Sayaka Murata. Now, I read one of her books before. I read Convenience Store Woman, and then I read Earthlings. Earthlings is very different from Convenience Store Woman, but they carry the same vibe of women's alienation when a woman doesn't perform conventionally, whether appearance wise or behavior wise. They are punished by society for it. And Earthlings is actually particularly different from Convenience Store Woman in the fact that it's a lot more gory. There's cannibalism in this book, just so you know, for anyone who's been meaning to read it. There's cannibalism in this book, and there are discussions of, well, violence, and also there is essay in this book, CSA to be specific. It has some very, very dark themes. So if you've been meaning to read it, you should just know that going in. I really love the way Sayaka Murata writes alienation of the female body when they don't fit in with society's standards, especially the way women police other women. Like her protagonists are just so relatable to me. Someone who is introverted and does not really fit in with what society deems conventional. Her protagonists just made me feel very seen and very heard, especially Earthlings. That book just, I felt like she snuck into my bedroom and was observing me. And if you've read the book and you are thinking, wow, that's weird, yes, it is very weird. Like, relating to the book is not a good thing, but I related so heavily to it. It was just overall such a nice read for me. I binged it in one night. It was that good. So I highly recommend that too, but do be aware that there are some really dark themes. I'm looking forward to reading other books of hers. I think there's one coming out in a few years, or maybe even more recently than I thought. So I will be reading more of her work, and you'll probably hear about it in another episode of these chats. Another thing that I really enjoyed recently is the game Another Crab's Treasure. And initially, I thought this was a Metroidvania because I call every hard game a Metroidvania, but I was informed that it is, in fact, a Souls like. And I really enjoyed the way it plays. The difficulty is just right. And I like the storyline about Creo, this little hermit crab who has his shell repossessed by the Duchess's repo man, who's an evil little shrimp. And as he goes through, the underwater city, he finds out that, or we, the player, find out that there are more things at play than just recovering his shell. It's pretty crazy. So I also wanted to talk about things that I would be looking forward to. And I'm looking forward to the book A Certain Hunger by Chelsea G. Summers because I've heard good things about that book and I read the summary. The summary is pretty interesting. And if one thing about me is that I enjoy a good story about cannibalism, and I'm not afraid to say that. So it's also been on my Pinterest book recommendation board for a long time, along with The Vegetarian, which I've already read. Vegetarian by Hannah Kim, I believe. I'll put the name on screen if I got it wrong. And then the movie I'm looking forward to that's actually out now is 28 years later because I've already seen 28 days later and I've seen 28 weeks later. So I'm looking forward to completing this trilogy with 28 years later. I've heard like a lot of good things about it, and it's one of the more unique zombie viruses I've seen so far. This is apparently like a rage virus because I've seen and I've played other zombie games. I played The Last of Us. I played the old Resident Evil, like the blocky Resident Evil, that's gotten a remake, I believe. And I've read, other zombie books. I just really like zombies as a concept. They're just so fun, the undead as a whole, the ghoulish nightmares that prowl the night and then bite you and spread the infection. Have you ever seen those bad Resident Evil movies? Although they weren't bad to me, I enjoyed them immensely. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that as well. So thank you for listening to the first episode of Moonlit Chats. Please look forward to the rest of them. I think I quite enjoy this style of video, and I like to share my thoughts on media I've seen and what I'm looking forward to. So stay tuned for more of that. Bye.